have to learn from the people who have come before you. Well, that's easy in sports, especially at Ohio State. We got film from like the 70s. I mean, but you certainly have film from that year. So you can watch film, you can study your opponent, you can study their tendencies. But I realized the reason I'm actually here today to share my story, many people ask, why would you share your story? Why would you tell the world about your problems? Because there's somebody in this room, and if you're not in the room, there's somebody in this room that knows somebody that needs to know my problems, that can take some lessons that I learned and not make those same mistakes. So that's the reason I'm here, and I learned that lesson from Jim Tressel. Now my fourth year at Ohio State, second year starting, we go back to the national title. We play LSU. We lost. Back-to-back national championship losses. How do you motivate a team going into my fifth and final year, third year as a starter? Well, Jim Tressel was our coach. He was a master motivator. He still is. I'll never forget, we walk into the team meeting room that year going into camp, and he gives the whole team this small piece of rope. Wait, what did rope stand for? R is? Remember. O, our. P, E, elevate who? Not you. It's not about you. It's about others. Tressel gives us this rope and he says, hey, this rope is a symbol of this team. We're tied together. Everybody on this rope has to hold on to their end of the deal, right? If you let go, Marcus Freeman falls off the cliff. Teddy Ginn falls off the cliff. We need each other. Forget about you. Hold on for your brother. So I got that rope in 2008. That season comes and goes. And when I got that rope, let's go back to this thing I was telling you about, this alcohol and drug problem. I managed it for the last 2 years I was starting. No one knew. But my senior year, I get this small piece of rope. And I recommitted to the team. I didn't drink, and I didn't use drugs my whole senior year. It was a miracle. And then guess what happened? That senior year, when I forgot about myself in the service to others, there was this guy on my team who's from this area. His name is Jake Ballard. He was a really good player. Jake Ballard threatened my playing time, and I didn't really like that the year before, and I wasn't really like his friend. But when I had a clear mind, I decided that I was going to elevate Jake. And then he elevated me, and then we both played a lot together. But the lesson I learned in that year was that if you want to achieve anything meaningful in life, you have to help somebody else get what they want. It's all about elevating others. So I'm forever thankful for my fifth year at Ohio State because I found sobriety for a short amount of time, and I learned a really valuable lesson, and Jake and I are still friends today. So football comes to an end for me, like it does everybody. This is the second time something I loved was taken from me against my will. But life moves on. I end up moving to Arizona and trying to move on with my life. But my purpose is kind of gone. I'm not really evaluating the things that are tied to my rope as we use it as a symbol of life. Like, what's important to you? Is it God? Is it your family? Is it drugs? Is it alcohol? I mean, I wasn't thinking about anything. I was just surviving. But life started to get really hard and really out of control. And in 2012, I moved back home to Beaver, Pennsylvania as a grown man to live with my parents and check myself into rehab for the first time in my life. And I ended up getting a job. I went to rehab for 6 months. I got sober again. I ended up getting a job with Zimmer Orthopedics and got back into the workforce. And I moved to Warsaw, Indiana. Has anybody ever heard of Warsaw, Indiana? No. Is there anything to do there? No. Okay. Do you know what's around Warsaw, Indiana?
Lakes.
Farms. You know what farms need? Fertilizer. You know how you make meth? Fertilizer. No, not me. But I will tell you a funny story. I'm still sober in Warsaw. We had to go from our hotel, or this Zimmer mansion, to the Zimmer office every morning at 7. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. But if you left at like 6:53, the train might beat you. If you left before, you beat the train. Well, one day we didn't beat the train. Not really a big deal. But we pull up to the train and we stop. And who's all seen Dumb and Dumber? Okay. Remember in the scene when they have the big the bus and or the dog-looking thing, and they're trying to go out west to Aspen? Yeah, and they get rid of it because it's a gas guzzler, right? So here comes Lloyd or Harry on the little motorcycle. I kid you not, we're at the train station or the train track, and a guy pulls up next to us on one of those motorcycles. This is January, 7 a.m. My man is in underwear, a helmet, and a cigarette. The meth got to him. Didn't get to me, but it got to him. Okay, fast forward now. I'm trying to go fast because I know you guys want to dance. I make it to 364 days sober. There's nothing to do in Warsaw, so I've been there for 6 months living with people who knew about my life. They supported this idea of sober living. They knew I couldn't drink, but we would often drive to South Bend, get on a train that took you to Chicago, and go spend our weekends there all the time. I went all the time. On day 364, we're in Chicago. Guess what the people I live with say to me? You made it a year, dude. You know what you should do? Have a beer. This is the third time something I loved was taken from me against my will. I lost my sobriety. And when I tell you I had a beer, and then this is really important, I went to PNC, some people this will resonate in their mind. It's important that I tell you, I'm sorry, I went to UDF. And UDF, I went there to buy dip, because I dipped, which is really sexy, great habit, but I kicked it, but let's bring them all back. Go to UDF to buy dip, and out of the periphery of my eye, because of the life I had lived, I know what I just saw, there's PNC banks, I bank at PNC. Buy the dip, get $200, walk outside, cop cocaine from the drug dealer on the corners. I mean full-fledged relapse. I woke up in a house I didn't know, I had no I had clothes, I had no phone, I had no clue where I was, I had lost my sobriety, and that was in 2014. 2013 maybe. It was 1 year on the day of sobriety. Well, life keeps going. Has anybody heard the story or the talk about the Duke women's basketball coach? Life gets hard, right? And like some people wait around for the easy bus, it never comes. We learn how to do hard better. My life kept getting hard. I struggled with alcohol and drug addiction. I continued to struggle with it. But just like anybody that's an addict, or anybody struggling with things, we justify things. So I met this woman who I married. But before I got married, I was drinking and drugging, and I knew it was a problem, but I kept telling myself, well, if you get married, it'll fix itself. It didn't. Well, if you buy a house and now you're married and you've got these big financial responsibilities, it'll get better. It didn't. Have a kid. Didn't get better. Have another kid. It didn't get better. My second daughter from my first marriage was born in 2018. Still didn't get better. So for some reason, I continue to learn about myself as I tell my story, and I think about the gratitude I have for life today. I still don't know why I was successful through all of this. In the eyes of the people just looking from afar. I was making money, I had a house, I had all like the stuff, a family, I was doing well, but I was shattered inside, and I don't know why that was. But I was so successful that in 2019, the mother of my children decided she was going to stay home to raise the kids, and we were able to do that. So she stayed home, and she stopped working in February 2020. Life keeps getting harder for all of us, and I don't know that it's ever not going to get harder. We just learn how to do hard better. But in March of 2020, she got diagnosed with breast cancer. And then in April of 2020, what happened? COVID became a real issue in America. So now the world shut down. I'm in the throes of a big addiction. Alcohol and drugs are ruling my life. I'm not sure that the mother of my children is even going to live. No one can leave the house. I'm wildly lost. And I don't know what to do. So I keep drinking, and I keep drugging, and eventually that led to divorce. Divorce happened. And divorce is a hard thing, because when you have small children, people get involved with your divorce, and their sole job is to protect them. They're called guardian ad litem. And I hated my guardian ad litem, because I was a drug addict. They would monitor me if I wanted to see my children. I had to blow into this thing that would tell you if I was or was not drinking. I had to do drug tests. And I'm thinking the whole time I'm going to beat it. I was so stupid that I honestly took this breathalyzer thing and took fishing tube from it, had somebody else blowing it so it said 0, failing to realize it was recording me the whole time. So I've dug myself this really big hole with the court system. And I actually remember a story, somebody told me this recently. There was a point when the only way I could see my children, I had to do this breathalyzer. But the problem was if I stopped drinking, I'd seize. So I was in a hotel watching on a Nest camera. My mom and dad from Beaver, PA, put my 2 little kids to sleep because I wasn't allowed to be with them. I could have been with them if I could have blown 0, but I couldn't blow 0. Because if I stopped drinking, I had seizures. I had 7 seizures in total, and 2 of them happened in front of my children. And to this day, they ask me, why did you fall and shake, and what was that stuff that came out of your mouth? That will never, ever go away from them. And eventually, I lost custody of my kids. That was the 4th time that something I loved was taken from me against my will. And so I started to ask myself some pretty serious questions. This is now the time frame of like 2021, 2022, and some of those questions are, if I do more drugs or drink more, could I maybe not wake up from one of these seizures? Because I'd go to the hospital, I'd wake up, and there was always like, someone there, but I never knew what happened and it didn't really hurt. Stuff got worse and worse with the court. I wasn't seeing my kids. I eventually got to the point where I'm asking myself, do you really want to be here? And I started to convince myself that I didn't. So in July of 2022, I got a piece of paper and I wrote a goodbye note. It was a goodbye note to my parents. It was a goodbye note to my parents. It was a goodbye note to my children. And I'd given up. And I set out to intentionally overdose. And I bought a bunch of drugs, bought a bunch of alcohol, and I ran into a problem. I did all of them, and I was still alive. So I didn't know what to do. It was a Sunday morning, and the liquor stores weren't open. The drug dealer definitely wasn't awake yet. I'd been up for a day and a half. So I went to my basement because any good drug addict's got a stash, like an emergency fund. And I knew if I found this box, there were drugs in there. So frantically, I'd been up for 2 days. I go into my basement, and I find the box, and I open the box, and there were no drugs in there. But there was this rope. This little piece of rope that Jim Trestle gave me in 2008. And when he gave it to us, he said, remember that we're tied together. Take the rope with you in life because you never know when you're going to need it. And I literally fell to my knees and I surrendered. And I asked God for help. And I called a friend and I went to rehab. I went to rehab for the second time in my life. That was July 10th, 2022. And I've been sober ever since. So, I meet Tony at this event at Emerge, and as I gained my sobriety, I started to reach out to some people. And I reached out to Coach Trestle, and I went to this event which cultivated this opportunity to speak, and I've shared my story many places. One of my closest friends happens to be the football coach at Notre Dame. And I'm not saying that Marcus is from here, you all probably know that. But we always talk about, when I talk to his team and I want to talk to anybody, like there's a moment where things you say relate to people, but I always want there to be a takeaway. And the rope is a really important thing to me. And it might not be important to you today, but the rope's not about you. If one person's holding the end of the rope, it's not valuable. Somebody else has to hold on for you. So I want to challenge everybody to remember the acronym for the rope and to remember our purpose is to elevate others. to become an elevator group. But to bring this full circle, that's my real story. That's my true story. That's why I'm here. I'm here to share my story in hopes that it helps one of you. If it doesn't help one of you today, remember, it didn't help me for 12 years and it saved my life. But I also realized that this is about high school sports. So the lessons I learned about being tough, the people and mentors that meant the most to me in the hardest times of my life, one of them was my high school coach. And you know who sent me a letter the second time I went to rehab when it got really bad? And a lot of people knew I wasn't a lot of people were worried, is he even going to be here? My coach from high school. And this is what you guys are fundraising for kids in high school. To have experiences to learn about what it means to be a winner in life, what it means to be on a team. I'm going to read you a small little section from this note that my high school coach taught me, or that he sent me. Well, it starts with, I'm grateful and relieved that you're getting help. I was very worried, but my prayers to the angels and saints were answered. And it goes on to say, I do not know if you remember your senior year in high school. I gave you guys the card going into the playoffs. Those things apply today. The road is long, and you've got to battle. Life is like football. It doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down, but that you pick yourself back up one more time. Then you get knocked down. When times get tough, you got to knock the dirt off, pull the pants up, tighten that belt, and dig the cleats in and battle hard. I gave you that silver dollar. If you ever lost it, I will give you another. Hang on to it. Use it for support. Use it for strength. You have come through tough times before. You can do it again. Remember, tough times don't last. Tough people do. That was my high school coach. That note means more to me than I even know what to say to you. And what you're fundraising for tonight is to create meaningful exchanges between coaches in this school district, because I assure you there will be a kid that goes through a hard time. And there will be a coach that had an influence on his life. And you can be a part of that. So what you're doing is really important. It's my privilege to be here. My only goal is to help others. I give my story to you so that you can give it to other people. I'm a story of success, and it has a lot to do with coaches. Jim Tressel, Rick Burke, the list goes on and on. People, my family that believed in me. I get to be with my kids again. I held on to my rope. And it was God that gave it to me. So the challenge to you is to always remember your purpose, to always try to elevate other people, to take a little piece of rope and put it in your pocket and think about it often. This life is about people. It's about something bigger than us. We're all a team. It's a great privilege to be here. I don't want that to end on a somber note. You guys should have a kick-ass time tonight. I'm a success story. It's been a privilege to be here. Go Centerville Elks.